Alright, welcome back to my beekeeping adventures. So, this is week 4 since I got my first bees, and this week I'm going to be finding some of the queens during my inspection and actually marking them. Now, the purpose for marking the queens is to help them stand out a little more from the other bees. There's an international queen marking standard which changes the color depending on the year. This year, the color is green. The reason we do this is because it can give you an idea of approximately how old the queen is. Queens only live at most 5 years, generally 2 to 3. And so by marking them, this can help us know if a queen has changed out because one has died or there has been a swarm, as well as knowing when this queen was marked. And it can give you an approximate age of the queen. Now, obviously, I don't know how old these queens were in these packages before I got them because they came unmarked. But we're going to mark them today, and hopefully that makes it a little easier to find in the future. So come along and let's get started. So we start out as normal, just pulling out all the frames, doing an inspection. This one has an incredibly good brood pattern on it. You can see there's only a few holes. Now the brood is that more kind of tannish color. The white color is capped over syrup or nectar, and is essentially honey, or dry enough to be honey. Now, seeing that brood pattern lets me know that there's going to be another about 2 frames of bees or so emerging in the next 21-ish days, just based off of the general life cycle of the bees. And so the point of checking the brood pattern is really just to get an idea of what's going to happen in the future with the bees. Now you can see on this side the brood pattern was a little more spotty, but I think that's mostly because the bees are actually competing for space with the queen to store resources versus for her to lay. And I'm just looking over the board real quick trying to find if there's a queen or not, but I didn't see her on this one, and it's actually not until a couple more frames that I finally managed to spot her, so let's go ahead and jump over there, get to the stuff we haven't seen before. So, as you can tell, this comb is actually going to be pretty new, the comb that I find her on. Now, the reason she's likely on it is because there's fresh cells, queens love to lay in fresh wax, and there's also space here where she's laid in most of the other hive, but there's still open cells on this new frame. Now, this was kind of more to the outside edge, which made it a little unexpected. You can see on that side it's all drawn and stuffed full of resources, and just here on this side, we managed to spot the queen. I'll go ahead and put a little red circle around her to help you all see her. But now that we spotted her, I gotta go get my tools, and then we can try to mark this queen. Alright, so I'm actually using a tool here, as you can see, to help me with the queen marking. More experienced beekeepers would grab her by her wings and then by her legs in order to mark her. I'm just not comfortable doing that yet, so I got this tool online. What I'll do is slip a piece of paper underneath it in order to help get the queen inside, and then use the soft plunger to push her up against the grate, holding her firmly while I mark her. I just felt a lot more comfortable doing this. I might practice picking up drones, that's how a lot of people do, and then I might be comfortable enough picking up the queen, but for now, no. Now, the tool's a little harder to use than I anticipated, just because you can't really force her inside that well without something like this piece of paper. So that was a bit annoying. But now that she's in there, I can gently push her up against the lid and use my green marking paint pen to mark her. Now, unfortunately, I did make a mistake. I didn't get the paint flowing very well. So the dot that I left on her is very faint and not nearly as visible as I would like it to be. And I ended up finding that out just from actually making sure that the pen was flowing nice on the next one. But I was satisfied at the time, and so that was all that I thought mattered. Now, what I'm doing here is shaking up the pen off camera, trying to kind of get the paint flowing into the tip a bit. Part of the reason I didn't use enough paint here is because I was actually concerned that I'd put too much on her. And if you put too much on her, that can have its own problems attenuated to it, such as suffocating the queen or the other bees sort of thinking there's something wrong with her. So I was being overly cautious. Didn't repeat that mistake on the next one. Now, it was kind of hard to get her squished in just the right position, but I managed to do it, and you can even see there's not very much paint, so I'm kind of having to use a little more force to get that mark on her than I'd like. And as you guys can see, it's a very, very faint mark, not really the vibrant green that this marker is capable of putting out. So that's just a lesson for next time. That and the fact that I really do not like this particular tool. So anyways, let's go on and see how I mark the next queen. Now, this is the nuke, and as those of you who've seen all the videos up until this point will know, I have not seen the queen on this nuke up until this point. So I was actually super excited that I managed to spot the queen in this one today. I knew she was in there because of the young brood that I'd seen, but I had not seen her. Now you can actually see I'm pointing to her. She's down in that lower corner right there. And you can just see her. She was right smack dab in the middle of the screen there. And so now, again, I'm putting her back while I get out my tools and try to decide how I'm going to try to mark her. You'll notice initially I end up putting down my marking cage, and I basically decided it's too much of a hassle, but let's just cut to that, shall we? So, as you can see here, I kind of just set that cage off to the side, and I just made sure to really get my green marker going with paint by kind of tapping the end of it on the brood box. And now I'm trying to get in there and mark just the queen. The issue is I don't want to mark a bunch of the surrounding bees, and I don't want to get paint all over her. So I'm trying to be cautious here. I gotta be real, this way also was not fantastic. Really, I think I'm just going to have to practice picking up the drones until I get comfortable enough that I pick up the queen. That'll be sort of a challenge for myself, I guess, this year. But for now, I managed to mark her, or trying to manage to mark her. Now, let's see. I'm kind of going in with a bit of precision. I wasn't able to hold it up to the camera just because I need to make sure to hold it steady now. Just there, I was tapping it. I'm realizing the paint wasn't flowing nearly as much as it should have been, so I'm really pressing that tip down a bunch just until I can see the paint flowing onto the board. And now that I've kind of got it healthily going, I'm like, that should be good. I try to mark her again. And I think we finally managed to get her. You can see it was a lot more noticeable on this queen compared to the others. I'm just taking a look over at my handiwork, making sure that I'm satisfied. I'm going to go in and try to mark her a little more maybe, so I'm trying to shuffle some of the bees out of the way, but I ended up deciding against it and just to put this back and call it a day. So that was the last queen that I found this week, and really it was a great day. So thank you all for tuning in, and I hope that we have you back next week. Thank you so much, guys.